Welcome to Tsunami. Hello everybody and welcome to a very special episode of Tsunami. I'm Tsunami and joining me for the very first streamer spotlight of 2022 is a very good friend of mine. So you might have heard her voice under the name Paladin Sky, but she is now known as WysteriaMoth. Wysteria, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so nice to be here. Well, no, like it's just one of those things. It's like I was like, oh goodness, I had this whole idea of what I was going to say, and it just immediately went out the window. But that's okay. So, I'm really glad to be here. It's really nice. It's nice being under the new name as well. It fits nicely.
About like forgetting what you were going to say, like don't worry because I do it every time I come on the show. I have like a soliloquy and a
Like-
huge monologue going.
Elegant speech planned in your head down to the nines, and the second you see that little red light come on, you're just like, okay, we're not doing that anymore.
How do I English today? It's like, no, today we're not going to be doing that. I kid you not, like I pace up and down saying like, okay, here's how I'm going to do it, here's how I'm going to structure it, and then as soon as I get on, I'm like, hi, and that's it, silence. So what you're about to hear, lovely listeners at home, is just an hour of me being silent. No, I'm only kidding.
No.
I didn't do that, do you?
Listen, the whole idea is like the whole purpose behind it is that you're supposed to picture him staring directly at you, not just at you, but through you, into your eyes. Confess your sins.
So what I want you to do now is go onto Google and type in "Red Panda staring into my soul." Okay, go do it. In fact, see if anything weird comes up. By the way, that's not my fault. For legal reasons, this is a joke.
Legal disclaimer.
Yeah, for my fictional Red Panda lawyer who's standing in the corner right now.
Shaking his head, panicking.
Yes, eating all my apples. I really shouldn't have hired a Red Panda as a lawyer. I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, what can I say? I wanted to be in character, okay, for this episode. But anyway, moving on from my poor life choices. How are you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing very, very well. I admittedly running a little bit slow today, but that's just because life.
Life, no coffee. Yeah, I get
exactly it. And actually just got over COVID as well, and you don't realize how much it wipes you out until you come out on the other side. You get those 2 negative tests and you're like, I'm free. And then you step outside and you're like, wow, I'm exhausted already. I don't want to do this anymore.
See, minus the COVID, that's just me on a regular day. Like, wow, I'm going to the shops. And then you get outside and you go, nah, I'll order in. Why not? It's like, nah.
Honestly, no mood, yeah. Like, not much about my life changed when I had COVID, to be fair, but...
So, before we jump into, of course, as you were saying there, your absolutely fantastic rebrand that you're working on just now as WysteriaMoth. I hope I'm saying that right, by the way, because I didn't ask you before we came on.
No, honestly, like you're doing just fine. Like WysteriaMoth, it's just, and honestly, I love the way that you say it in particular, and I think it might just be the accent, but it's
well,
just a little stroke the ego a little bit. But
indeed, I have the accent. That's true.
But no, honestly, WysteriaMoth, you got it entirely correct. Yeah, that's exactly it. And yeah, I am in fact rebranding. So was that the segue for me to talk about myself?
You can't see it right now, but I'm winking like, go.
That's cool. All right. So yeah, a lot of people may know me as Paladin Sky, and you might also be very aware that I have sort of vanished. And
until today.
Until today, I am the avatar. This Justin, I am the boy in the iceberg.
I was actually going to say you're like the phoenix version of a moth, but I've never thought that two things could go so badly together.
Oh God, I am the moth that has become the lamp.
Yes. Look at me. I'm the lamp now.
I am the lamp.
But so. Sorry, go on, sorry, before I rudely interrupted you.
5 minutes in and we're already breaking down into giggles. This is great. But no, yeah, so I vanished for a while. And technically, I am still vanished because I'm still working on my rebrand and things like that. And it's been so strange working on it all because Paladin Sky was such a huge part of my identity. Like, it was been my gamer tag for like literally like 15 years at that point. On everywhere I was Paladin Sky. And then I was like, you know what? Starting streaming and stuff like this, and we could actually sort of lead this into like how we met as well. Because admittedly, like, I don't actually, and this is, I chalk this completely up to the fact that I have the memory of a goldfish, but I don't actually quite recall which stream it was that like you first popped into and I first like saw your name pop in. And but I know like the first time I started seeing you regularly was on Twitch when I was streaming, and just so quickly you were just so lovely and so
Oh,
supportive.
thank you.
And every time I would see you pop in, it was you, and then there was another regular viewer of mine who I still talk to on Twitch as well. Like, I still keep her updated on everything. But it was you and Serendipity that I saw so many times pop into my chat, and it was an absolute joy each and every time. But something after a while just sort of felt wrong. It's it's so difficult to explain. Like, when you've had a moniker for so long and you're streaming and you're like, okay, this is actually going well. And especially like, I didn't expect to actually start building an audience. I didn't actually expect it to go anywhere. I actually started streaming. The whole purpose of me starting streaming essentially was because me and my friends would just get on and play these massive group games like Overwatch, that sort of thing. Overwatch is actually what got me to start streaming, believe it or not.
Brave person.
Listen, I didn't realize how brave it actually was until much, much later. But Overwatch actually was what sort of got me out of, because listening to me talk and listening to me stream, you probably wouldn't pick up on it, but I am a painfully shy person. Like, I care entirely too much about what people think about me. And so I remember playing games like League. Oh, listen, League was not a good place for me to be.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
League of Legends. I had back when before League of Legends didn't have like the level cap, because I could swear, I mean, it could be like a Mandela thing, but I could swear years ago that League had like a account level cap of 30. I had a level 30 account on League, and I played literally 2 PvP matches. It was all bots. I did not do PvP. Specifically, when I would go into PvP and I wouldn't play at the level that the people I was matched with would play, I would just get flamed so hard, and my tender little heart couldn't take it. So I just didn't play PvP games. And then along came Overwatch, and it all went downhill from there, really, because I remember playing the beta of it before the game even launched. Like, you remember that big public beta that
Oh,
there
yeah.
was before the game launched back in 2016? I joined up, and it was supposed to be like, it was like two weeks or something, 2 weeks to a month before the game actually launched, and they did the beta for it. And I started playing it, and I'm like, this is really fun. This is really fun. But I was also terrified because, like, oh, I'm playing against actual people. Like, my first impulse was I just wanted to scuttle up the wall and just hiss. Like, I don't want anything to do with real life people. Forget that. No.
I was actually going to say there should really be an Overwatch support group, but that would imply though that people play support. But
That's
okay, right. That's my Overwatch joke out the way. I mean, hey, I play Mercy. Okay, I can make that joke, right?
No, honestly, in Brig / Moira main, I stand. But no, so like the whole genesis of me streaming on Twitch just sort of started from the fact that I have a friend who's been my friend for many, many years, who was a content creator on YouTube for a while. We both sort of ended up going into it together almost. We didn't, like, it wasn't like a joint channel, but we just, like, I think I started first, and then he started his channel shortly after I did. And the whole purpose behind doing it was just because we wanted a place for us to sort of have fun with our big group of friends and share our particular brand of fuckery. That was the whole that was the whole source of me starting streaming. That was the whole genesis of it. And that was the whole purpose of it. I didn't care if my numbers took off, because I didn't think that anybody would care about somebody like me just putting that sort of content out there and recording things and just having a laugh with my friends, because I knew that there were big groups out there like things like the Game Grumps or oh goodness, goodness, Achievement Hunter, that sort of thing, you know? Those bigger names were just friends having a laugh and recording it and putting it out there for the world. I didn't think that it was going to be much to it. And then suddenly, as I started doing more on my own and streaming things like Overwatch on my own, and then of course Apex came, and Apex is what really got me back into streaming properly, and I actually set a schedule for it. And then all of a sudden, you know, people started showing up, names started popping back up in my chats that I recognized. I actually had chatters, and then something, and I was just having fun. I was living with it. I was starting to post on TikTok. And mind you, this is like, there was a rather large time skip between all that, I should say. I should clarify that now. There was a few years where I was very, very, very small content creator. I streamed sporadically at best. But then about, I would say 2 or 3 years ago now, it's probably about 2 years ago now, because I would say that's about right. About 2 years ago now, I think, I started streaming more regularly. No, it would be 3 years ago, because it was shortly after I moved to the UK, because I started streaming in the US, but then I moved to the UK to close the distance with my partner. And yeah, and so that's when I really started like streaming regularly. I streamed 3 nights a week, started with two, ended up with three, and I was starting to build an audience, and I was getting a little bit of a momentum. Then I started a TikTok, met even more amazing streamers on TikTok that would come to my channel and support me. And I would go to their channels and support them. And I was networking and I was building things. And it was reaching such a level that one day, all of a sudden, when I was streaming, I remember I was streaming Saints Row 3 with one of my good friends. He's my best friend, really. And then all of a sudden I got a notification pop up on my laptop, because I play on my console. I'm a console streamer primarily. So I sit on my sofa, stream from my big screen TV with my laptop sitting in front of me so I can look at chat and everything and my metrics and stuff like that. And then I just see a notification pop up on my Twitch that said achievement. It was essentially like achievement unlocked, that sort of thing, or achievement reached. And I'd qualified for the affiliate program. And that happened to me on stream. And I didn't know what to say. Like, my brain went blank. I just sort of stopped. I was in my bright purple Atria zone blasting the most obnoxious song I possibly could in the middle of Steelport on Saints Row, and I just made affiliate. And I was simultaneously so happy and amazed and enthralled. I was also downright fucking terrified because it's like, oh shit, it's real now. Where do I go from here? I don't know if you relate to that feeling or not, but it was just, oh goodness. And even now, just thinking about it, it's just like, oh.
Because I've used this example before, but like, you know, I kind of think of it as, have you ever seen Finding Nemo?
Yes.
And I have used this in another episode, so if you've heard this analogy before, apologies. It reminds me of, you know, at the very end where the fish like jump out of the dentist's office and they're all like, whoa, yay! And they're all like cheering, and then they go, now what?
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
But then after I qualified for affiliate, that was really what sort of set the ball really in motion for me. Like, it made me really put such a fire under me to actually do this. But then that was also the sort of deviation. Like, it was so funny. There was almost like a grand split there, right? Because there was the persona that I had built, right? And that what people liked and people enjoyed and things like that. And the sort of brand, quote unquote brand, even though I didn't really have a brand, I didn't have a channel backdrop or anything, but people still, for whatever reason, kept coming back to my streams. But then going forward, if I wanted to step into affiliate, it's like, I have an audience, but there's something not right here. And so I kept streaming. I was working on getting my affiliate stuff worked out, and I still haven't, because we'll get into that later. The more I sat with it and the more I worked and the more I put into it, suddenly that feeling, that unsettled feeling that I had, never went away. It never went away. And now, looking back on it, I sort of recognize the fact that it was the ever looming burnout that people absolutely dread, content creators absolutely dread. And then you pair it with the imposter syndrome, which is the whole thing of like, oh, well, I barely did anything to deserve this. This isn't supposed to be for me. I don't deserve this.
Would you say that was probably one of your major challenges when it came to streaming?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you tie that, especially like when I start actually streaming and posting content on my TikTok and stuff like that. And again, 3 streams a week for me, which for some streamers, they can stream every day and be perfectly fine. But one thing that I had to sort of let my audience in on, which was something I didn't really talk to much of anybody about, is the fact that I'm a chronically ill streamer as well. I have fibromyalgia. It's chronic pain disorder. It's not really a disorder. It's really hard to describe what it is really. To put it into base layman's terms, I have a limited energy, like I have a limited pool of energy that I can like call on to do everyday tasks, like things that would be normal for other people. I have to manage my effort and ability to do so because of my chronic pain. And I'm in pain every day, 24/7. Wake up in pain, go to bed in pain, and really the only thing I can do is cope with it. Like, are you familiar with spoon theory?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, quick little idea of what it is. So when you hear somebody with a chronic condition talk about their spoons, right? The whole spoon theory is that like you have a drawer of spoons, and once you use a spoon, you can't use it again until it's been washed, or that you can't just use it again right away, right? And you only have a certain amount of spoons in your drawer that you can use. And when you use up your spoons, you have to wash your spoons to replenish them, or you have to essentially the whole analogy is that you only have a certain, I like to equate it to Dungeons and Dragons. Like I saw this on Tumblr years ago, but I equate it to like Dungeons and Dragons spell slots. Like once you expend a spell slot, you have to take a short or long rest before you can get it back to be able to do a task again. And that sort of ruled my life for a while, because not only was I in chronic pain, I also deal with things like depression and anxiety, and you have all of that in this big gnarl in my head, as well as this, and then suddenly you throw in this sort of it's not really a responsibility, but it feels like a responsibility. When you get something like affiliate and you have that opportunity and you have an audience, you feel an almost obligation to be present for your audience.
It's like setting almost an expectation that now you've got, I don't want to say a shiny badge because you don't get a shiny badge, Twitch, get on that.
Yeah,
But
right.
that way it's like, you're right, you've got that title of affiliate, so now it's almost like you have that newfound reputation.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what you mean. It's like, have you ever felt where you're working on something, and because I can imagine there's lots that you've worked on, considering what you were saying there about you being quite a, like active content creator before moving on to Twitch and everything.
Hmm.
And of course, you work on something for absolutely ages, and maybe you don't see like the same growth as similar streamers on a kind of similar level. And do you ever feel like that? Have you ever felt like, you look at those other streamers, and because even though you're putting in all the work, you wonder like, why is mine not work? A bit like what you were saying about imposter syndrome, but it's like, why isn't my content taking off or things? Have you ever felt like that?
Oh, absolutely. And let me tell you, I feel like whenever I have those thoughts, it's really easy, especially when the imposter syndrome and that sort of thing sort of kicks in. It's really easy to look inwardly to myself and be like, wow, I am a real selfish prick to be thinking like that. The thing is that I don't think it's necessarily an unfair thing to have that sort of thought. But then I also think it's not necessarily fair to yourself to make those comparisons, because we had a little brief chat before, I say brief, but we had a chat before we actually started recording about like people's ideas for their lives and stuff like that. They put them on a timeline and people start comparing each other's timelines, and when they don't meet the same milestones at the same time as other people, they start to feel bad about themselves. But just like those timelines for people's lives are subjective, so is success. And success and that sort of thing doesn't all follow the same milestones, and you're not always going to hit the same thresholds as everybody else at the same time. If you did, then there'd really be no ebb and flow when it comes to people creating and people wanting to create and that sort of thing. If everybody just gave up because their work wasn't recognized right away, there wouldn't be nearly as many wonderful people out there spreading their joy, like you in particular, I think of in this regard. There just wouldn't be that many people out there spreading that sort of goodness that I feel like so many people, especially during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, really need. But it's so easy to get into your head about it as well. And I've been there as well. And I completely relate to that thought.
So a lot of the people that I've talked to in Streamer Spotlight, and even outside of Streamer Spotlight in the podcast itself, I've talked to a lot of streamers who basically they started streaming during the pandemic. So this was like, Twitch as a whole and even YouTube was like a creative outlet for a lot of these people. And obviously, with Twitch being the way it was, and then suddenly you've got a huge influx of people coming in saying, check out my content, which obviously means that the audiences are going to be split and everything, and it's just going to kind of dilute that
Oh
kind
yeah.
of user base rather than, thinking of it in the way of my content isn't great because I've only got 2 or 3 viewers. But I absolutely agree. I do think that when you're in the shoes of the content creator, because I always remember reading an article and it was the BBC, shout out to the BBC, please
Oh yeah.
sponsor me.
They interviewed me once actually.
Did they?
Yeah, it was like a little wandering interview. I went to go get my COVID booster and they liked my mask, so they interviewed me. It was kind of funny actually.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Short little anecdote. Continue.
No, sorry, just before I go on, did they, or rather, did you plug your channel?
Oh no, I didn't. Like it felt a little. It felt a little cheeky to do so. I did mention that I was a streamer, but I didn't give my name. But it was just one of those things. It's like they had a limited amount of time to actually get the bit recorded and that sort of stuff.
Ah, okay.
But it
Got
was
you.
specifically for BBC Berkshire, so it's just over here like,
Ah,
have no idea where to listen to that, but that's okay.
yeah. So if you want to listen to that interview, no, I'm only kidding. Even I don't know. Out of curiosity, what was the mask you were
Oh,
wearing?
it was actually it's one I got on Etsy. The dangers of Etsy. It was a handmade one, and it was purple lace that had like a black lace. I want to what is it called? It has a name, but I can never remember it. Like a black lace trim along the top of it, and then it had like a bunch of cute little charms hanging off of it, like crosses and black beads and stuff like that. And they had a lot of movement to them. It was very fun. I like it very very much. It's one of my favorites.
Anyway, sorry, I just had to double check.
Meanwhile,
Yeah, in case it was like a Paladin Sky branded one.
oh no, listen.
Or-
I wish I had merch like that. Damn. That's next on the list though.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you can get them in Redbubble, I think.
Oh yeah, I had seen that.
I don't know how good the quality is though, but I haven't ordered one yet. Yet,
Yet.
one day. But sorry, the reason I brought BBC up there was I remember reading an article, and you know how news outlets are, they'll always go for the kind of upbeat success stories at times when they're not being depressing, of course. The world's burning, but
Look at this puppy.
yeah, look at this puppy. I remember there was this article of this. I think they were separate streamers, but it was basically 2 streamers who had started streaming. I think it was like Call of Duty, and I can't even remember what the other thing was, but it was probably like Call of Duty and Apex or Call of Duty and something. And because of that, they had actually made like a living off of streaming, and they were talking about how amazing these people were and things. And it's a very hard thing to detach yourself from, because if I'm honest, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this, being because you've tried different games and things on stream, but the age-old argument between variety streaming versus streaming one particular game, because I know that a lot of people who have streamed one game and they get like a huge audience, but of course, as soon as they change game, then their audience like go away completely. And I don't want to like poop on anyone and say, oh, I would find that boring, but I would find it very hard to play the same game over and over again for the same, kind of, I mean, not for the same audience, that's bad to say, but I think it depends on the game.
Yeah, and the thing is like the way that I sort of look at it is that if somebody can find a game that they really love that lands them their success and they're happy to keep playing it, by all means go for it. That's amazing. And especially if you really love the game, then that's even better. Me personally, I have the attention span of a ferret. So I cannot focus on one game for too long because it just leads to faster burnout for me. So it's one of those things like I have to try different things on my channel every so often. Like arguably when I was streaming regularly, my Apex streams were probably the most successful because I mean, you watched them. I'm a lunatic when I play Apex.
But you still got the victory, though. I've seen you get the victory.
Yeah, I got a victory in your name last game of the stream as well, because he was like, I was literally about to stop streaming and you popped in and I'm like, oh damn, Satsu's here, I can't leave. Are you joking? One of my favorites just popped up. And like, you're not supposed to admit you have a favorite child, but I have a favorite child, okay? Leave me alone.
So sorry, just before we go on, what's your PayPal again? So I can, pay you for that compliment,
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll edit this out. That no one has to know, you know.
No one
No,
has
no.
to know. But yeah, but no, like it's just one of those things. It's like it was honestly so funny. It's one of my favorite ones to look back on. Is you pop into the chat and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna win this one for you, Satsu, knowing full well I'm not gonna fucking win this. I've been playing ass all night. There's no way I'm gonna pull a win out. And then all of a sudden, out of fucking nowhere, we win, and it was a pretty decisive victory as well. Like it was really really fun. I was the most important thing. I was like, God, I hope that was fun to watch. I really hope that was fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Because I remember, I think I went away at one point to like make a cup of tea, and then all I heard from my computer was just like, yes! And I was like, what is going on? And I ran back, and it was like you winning and just absolutely tearing everyone apart. And I'm like, this is the most British response ever. Just like, oh, goodness gracious. Sniffing my tea.
Good heavens.
Good heavens. How barbaric. Oh, no.
No, honestly, I've like, and that was honestly one of my favorite bits. And sort of tying that sort of anecdote back to the topic we were on before about like the imposter syndrome and that sort of thing. And what I promise, this whole long-winded thing we've got going here does lead back to the whole point of why I'm gone. I promise, I swear to God. Moments like that and building communities like I should say. It was so great, and I was riding such a great high from it. But then I went too hard. And when I expend, like when it became more real and I wanted to put more time into it, and especially since I started streaming at a time when I was furloughed from work. So like the more regular streaming and stuff like that I did while I was furloughed, because I was furloughed for during the pandemic for almost a year. And before that I was working and streaming, but that was when I was more sporadic, because again, trying to balance work energy and stream energy and then just existence was very difficult. And so when the furlough hit, that's when everything sort of took place. That's when everything just sort of slotted into gear, and the gears started turning, and I was gaining momentum. I got affiliate, and I met you, and I met so many other great streamers that I like to call my friends now. Again, I just sort of hit a wall, and it wasn't like a sort of like, oh, I've run out of steam kind of wall. I mean, it kind of was, but it was like I tried to sign up for affiliate, tried to get my affiliate onboarding done, hit a wall. And when you hit a wall like that, it sort of takes the wind out of your sails a bit. And it was a situation that I was looking and trying to find advice on, couldn't find it anywhere. And then my furlough ended and I was unemployed. So I had to go back to looking for jobs. And then my health took a turn as well. My health and my energy just took a bit of a downward dive. And I was more often than not in bed, just trying to cope with existence. And I just didn't have the energy to make content anymore. And that was it was really scary, because it's like it was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know? Like I finally get where I want to be, and then suddenly all of these things pop up at once and they prevent me from doing what I want to do. And it's like, and a part of me, like a little part in the back of my head was like, see, I knew you weren't worthy of this. And so when that sort of burnout appears, I took a hiatus. I was gone for a couple of months. The first hiatus, I was gone. I took time to just rest, recuperate, try to get myself back on my feet, try to figure out affiliate. And I was so worried when I came back that my audience wouldn't be there anymore. I was worried that Serendipity wouldn't come back. I was worried that you wouldn't come back. And at the end of the day, I couldn't blame either of you for that. I was gone. If I'm not streaming, if I'm not putting stuff out there, how can I expect you to stay?
Well, I mean, first of all, I am like a bad smell, so you always have me like lingering around, you know. So yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. You know? I mean, I'm the kind of person who like stands outside, like, you know, as the red panda with the boombox over the head, like.
Or like I open up my curtains in the morning and there's just a red panda with the nose pressed to the glass with the giant like frosted bit underneath, where it's been just like
heavy breathing.
Yeah. On somehow from my second floor, so I'm very confused. But
it's like, have you ever seen that meme image where it's like the really creepy guy pressed against the window and he's like, "Hey kid, let me in, I'm a fairy. Don't you believe in fairies?" It's like that's like,
Jesus.
"Hey kid, you want to be on a podcast? Don't you believe in podcasts?"
That's pretty much what it is because we talked for so long about getting me on a podcast or doing a duo stream or something for the longest time, and we just never really found the time to do it. And so it's kind of great that it's kind of come full circle now that we are in that place where we're finally sitting down having a nice conversation. But yeah, so I took that first hiatus, and it was rough because again I was so afraid and I couldn't get the affiliate worked out. But I was like, well, I just can't not stream anymore, because it's not that I didn't want to, but it's like, oh, I don't want to stream anymore. It was like, I do want to stream, but I just wanted to like actually get my affiliate stuff worked out and get like points, rewards, that sort of thing all worked out. I was like, well, I can go ahead and keep streaming and sort of work on it passively in the background. Foolish of me to say, really, but I did eventually come back, and much to my joy, I still had an audience, and that was so relieving. But that sort of feeling that I mentioned before of like something's not right, it came back in force. And I sat with it for a long time, just trying to figure out what was going on. And then leading up to my second hiatus, which is arguably this hiatus. I've been on hiatus since August. I stopped streaming because I got sick one week and I was in a lot of pain. It took me a while to recover. My mental health took a dive as well, and it was just so difficult. But one thing that I sort of realized in all of this, and one thing that I like to try to bring up to people, is that you can't put your best self into what you love if you aren't taking care of yourself. And I needed to take care of myself. And so the second time I went on hiatus, I'm like, I'm only going to be away for a week. Then it turned into 2. Then it turned into 3. And then I was getting so upset and worked up and so angry at myself. But then eventually I just sort of reached a point where I'm like, I can't do this. I care. It's like, and it's not like I can't do this. Like, I don't want to stream anymore. It's like, I can't go back to streaming while I still care so much about things like the numbers and the engagement and that sort of thing. And not in the kind of way of like, oh, I'm pleased with my progress, but in the sort of way of like, I'm not doing enough. And the more I let the numbers control me, the more demoralized I got. And that's when I decided, you know what? I need to step away. I need to stay away for a couple of months, work on myself, get myself right, focus on getting a job, get some money saved up, because I'm going to need an accountant to help me out with the affiliate stuff. And I'm still saving for that. That's still something that's very much in the works. And having to sort of re-find that balance of my mental health, my real life, like my personal real life, coping with my chronic illness, and streaming. And I'm still very much working on that. But I feel like now I have reached a point where I'm more able to be out there and to talk more about it. Because I had this whole plan. I'm not even joking, Satsu. I had this whole plan where I was going to do this big comeback with the name change. It was all going to be changed all at once. And I was going to do a stream and come back and be like, what's up, bitches? I'm back. New brand. And I think the biggest thing that I sort of figured out and what sort of set me in motion for the rebrand was that while I was sitting there with myself, trying to help myself, I was mulling over like what didn't feel right about my stream. And then it hit me. My name. Like before, earlier in the podcast, we talked about how my name had been with me for over 15 years, right? It was my moniker, it was my identity. But then the biggest thing that could fix the problem I was having with my rebrand and going into affiliate and having this really strong idea of who I am as a person is that my name didn't reconcile with my vision. And there was no real way that I could make the vision that I have for my channel, which I wanted like ethereal, almost witchy, that sort of feeling, and crystals and moons and flowers and, domesticated cryptid. I'm leaning very heavily into the cryptid aspect of this because I am in fact a domesticated cryptid. But then you put a name like Paladin Sky next to that and it just doesn't mesh. And so I'm like, well, rather than trying to make the aesthetic fit the name, why don't I make the name fit the aesthetic? And that was rough. That was really rough because, like I said, it sort of opened a floodgate for me that got so much introspective crap going. Like, I don't want to say crap because introspection is never a bad thing to do for the most part, but it just sort of made me realize how much of myself I had hinged on this idea of this is my identity, when I could very easily at any point change how I present myself to the world. And it doesn't have to be so deeply personal that my entire world is upheaved, I'll never be the same again. And that's when it all just sort of slid into place for me. And that's when I started the rebrand. And now that leads me to here, talking to you and explaining myself in that sort of regard.
Me peeling myself off the window saying thank you for coming on to the podcast. Yeah.
just sort of really like expressing to the world, this is me, this is who I am now. And I mean, I even popped into one of your streams one day, just out of the blue, just be like, yeah, okay, I'll come on. Like he was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna play Fall Guys, and I'm like, you want somebody to play with? And I don't even remember what it was, but I just know that my answer to you was bet, opening Fall Guys right now. And then suddenly we did our first like little guest spot with me on the stream as WysteriaMoth, and it was awkward for me, especially. I felt a little strange, but it was also really, really fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed that stream. I thoroughly enjoyed being a guest on your stream. It was so lovely.
Oh no, it was a great stream, to be fair. Even though I did talk about Willy Wonka and war crimes and
Oh god, the Oompa Loompa war crimes. I have nightmares of that, Satsu. I hope you're happy.
I'm very happy, thank you very
You've
much.
ruined my fucking life.
Well, someone has to hold the Oompa Loompas accountable, okay? And if it's not going to be me, who's it going to be, okay? So next week we're going to talk about the implications of Oompa Loompa. No, I'm only kidding.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
No. Going back to something. Yeah, sorry. Moving swiftly away from the Oompa
Yeah,
Loompa
we're not going to go down that rabbit hole
controversy.
again. We did
Yeah.
that once. We did that once.
Yes, but I totally see what you mean, though. It is very hard to kind of pull yourself. See, once you've had like such a long hiatus, because I was in a similar boat of, you know, like streaming regularly, and then eventually there was just like one moment where I just didn't stream, and I felt as if, oh, I don't want to stream. You know, you just sit there and you think, well, if I stopped streaming, if I just kind of disappeared and, you know, wrote it off as like a, I don't want to say social experiment, I don't want to be one of those prank guys, but you know what I mean?
Jesus, yeah.
It's just a prank, bro. But you know, like, because I've said this before, when I started streaming and before I reached affiliate, I was very, very close to just chucking it completely. 2 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah. I'm glad you're still here. I'm glad
Oh,
you're still
thank you.
here. You're part of the reason why I'm still here as well. So
Oh,
I
thank you.
mean, pat each other on the back. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And don't worry, I'll get the PayPal thing to you
Yeah,
later.
don't worry. I'll get your payment to you as well. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't see it, but I'm winking. You know, I'm like, you
We-
know. But no, it's because I totally see what you mean. Because at the beginning of when I started streaming, it was only my friends coming in, and this sounds like horrible to say, but it was like when they were coming in and they were saying great stream and everything, and you do have that kind of self doubt of, was it really a good stream? Or was it just a good stream because, you know, just because they're saying it? It is like one of these things that I don't think anybody prepares you for. And this is going to sound like a very boomer. I'm not a boomer, by the way. I'm not that old. But it's like a very boomer kind of outlook on Twitch where it's like, oh, people are paid for just sitting there
Oh yeah.
watching other people play video games. Haha, how ridiculous as they go and watch a football game. But
Yeah.
anyway, my saltiness aside.
You know, funny enough, my mom watches my streams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, whenever I did stream, my mom would watch because again, I moved to the UK from America, and so I haven't been able to see my mom for a few years, especially with the pandemic. So whenever I would stream, I would send her a link. Like at first, like whenever I would post it on my whenever I posted on my wall, she would come and watch from that. She actually made a Twitch account just to be able to comment in my chat.
Oh, that's lovely.
So it's just like it's like every so often I just be like, "Hi, mom." I kind of want to make her like her own special role on my channel, just to be like, "Yeah, this is streamer's mom popping in. Behave yourselves, chat. Behave."
Sorry, Mrs. Moth.
Sorry, mom. Mommy Moth. Oh, I should do that. Oh, special role for my mom. That would be so cute. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Thank you for that. I'm just gonna add that. I'm just gonna add that to my list of shit to do. But
But yeah, it's like when people look at streamers as a whole, I suppose they don't really consider the emotional impact it has. Because it's as you said, everything you went through, and you know, between that and the burnout and comparing yourself to others and things, and it just becomes like a big emotional snowball, doesn't it? It's like one
Yeah.
tiny thing, like maybe a stream won't be good. Like, I remember I went into a right tizzy because I did I think it was Watch Dogs I played, and it went really, really bad, and I got really like down about it. And it's not something, obviously, there's no such thing as like a Twitch class. It is like something that people don't really prepare you for, and you
Mhm.
hear all these like, I don't want to call them idiots, but people with overinflated egos who are like, oh, you gotta get the grind. And this is something I always say, this is
Yeah.
something I always bring up, but these people who talk about the grind and you gotta be up, you gotta be working 24/7 on your stream, you gotta be doing that.
Not fam. Nobody, not everybody's got time for that. Bro, I got bills to pay. I can't be doing all of this. That's exactly it. Like, I gotta go to work, man.
you
I
know
ain't got time
and
for this.
it's like,
Like, you do you, boo boo. If that works for
yeah.
you, have at it. But nah, not everybody can do that. I would die. Actually dead.
Oh, I could not do that. To be fair, I definitely could not do that because I mean, I tried putting a lot of work into my streams, and
And it shows. It shows.
oh,
Just want to throw
thank
that
you.
in there. It shows.
Oh, thank you.
Continue.
But that's the thing, though. It's like, you'll know what I mean when you say, you're your own worst critic when you're like
Oh God,
streaming,
yeah.
or
Dude, even like even while you're live and you say something and your little inner critic is just going, "What the fuck are you talking about? That was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard."
an annoying thing as well is like, see when you try to kind of look up how you can make your streams better, and you see a lot of these people, and no offense to them, I'm sure they're lovely people, but they've got like the LED backgrounds and they've got like
Mhm.
the 4K cameras pointing at their face, and they're like, oh, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to be a pro streamer, and they give out all of these very, very milk toast tips, like,
Yeah.
I think the most popular one is act like there's 100 people in your stream, even though there's no one. And it's like, I get where they're coming from with a lot of these kind of tips, but something I've learned on Twitch is it's not a universal concept.
It's not.
Like, I mean, compared to, I mean, I think we have quite a similar streaming style, but I mean, compared to the other ones who, you get people with face cams, you'll get people who are very bombastic and loud, and oh, look at me, I'm doing a cosplay stream. One
Mhm.
day, guys, one day.
One day. Yeah, same.
Sometimes that's obviously not, it might not be your vibe. And that is like something I think a lot of people have to accept, that that's perfectly fine. It's like, it's not something, you don't have to be the same. You don't have to be the next, I don't know, Pokemon Ninja, insert famous person here.
Because I feel like a
Yeah,
lot of their success, and it's not to downplay the effort that they put in, because they put in a lot of effort into their streams. And again, it shows. But those are like lightning in a bottle sort of situations, isn't it? Kind of
absolutely.
like the
Hmm.
Markipliers and the Jacksepticeye's of YouTube and that sort of thing. Lightning in a bottle. Like that sort of thing isn't going to happen to everyone, and that is okay. I think one of the biggest thing that strangely enough, one of the biggest things that Twitch has taught is, and again, it's it's sort of like punted me into a lot of mental health sort of things as well, like taking care of my own brain and getting all of my wires uncrossed and everything like that, and actually being a functional human and not the trash child that I am. A lot of that came from my time of sort of like telling myself that it's okay to step away to take care of myself, and I don't have to have the big boy setups for me to entertain my audience, because if I have an audience, then they're there for me. And one thing that I always like to say, right, is that I don't want to build my space, because I know a lot of streamers, and again, I'm not going to name any names here, but I know I've seen some streamers, I've popped into streams and stuff like that, where they've just been very much a sort of like, oh, my house, my rules, you're coming into my house, like blah, blah, blah. And of course, if you know what that works for you, great. Me personally, I can't treat it like that, because my house, like if I were to, when you think about it, right? If your stream only has like 5 or 6 people in it, or up to 10 people, right? If you imagine like those 10 people in your living room, that's a lot of people watching. And that perspective itself can help make you feel better about the fact that you have 10 people watching, whereas these other streamers would have like 7,000. But then I also think about it in this way of like the panic that comes to me to think of 10 people in my living room that I don't know terrifies me, because my home is my domicile is mine and mine alone. I'm very territorial. I am a cryptid. You crawl into my nest, I'm gonna bite your arm off, okay?
So don't come and visit you. Okay, I
Unexpected,
got it.
unannounced, unannounced,
Unannounced,
unannounced,
unannounced. So I'm just
unannounced.
underlining repeating that three
Yeah.
times unannounced. Okay.
Yes. But then I sort of applied that sort of thinking to my streaming. Like, I'm not making a space of like, oh, this is my house, my rules. I'm creating a space for people to come. Like, I'm creating an amphitheater for people to come in, sit down, get to know, like, meet each other, make some friends. And if they want to stay, they can. If they don't, if my content isn't for them, they can leave. That's fine. But that's the purpose of me streaming. That's the audience. That's the sort of vibe I want to give. I want to create a space where we can all go to just sort of take a breath and just be comfortable. And I want to play games that make me happy. I play Apex like an absolute idiot because I don't take it seriously. Because if I start getting uber salty and stuff like that, then it's not fun to watch, is it?
Because I've seen like a lot of Call of Duty players, not to shout out any players or whatever, but I have seen quite a few people get quite salty is probably the right adjective here, because there was one guy I remember, very like lovely guy. He wasn't like one of the you know how you get some like Call of Duty or just like FPS streamers that they just don't talk to the chat, and it's
Yeah.
not even a case that they're in the zone, it's just they're very rude. But this person always talked to the chat, and I always remember there was a moment where he was put in the gulag. So just to explain to any non Call of Duty players, like if you get killed you have to do like a 1v1 and try and basically fight to the death. And there was this one moment where he hid behind some cover. He went to throw a Molotov and he threw it at the wall he was hiding
Oh
behind, and
no.
it killed him accidentally. Now, initially, I laughed. I found that quite funny because it's just that it was something I imagined myself doing.
Oh god, yeah. I have done that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that as well, where I've just like thrown a grenade and it's bounced back, or I forget it's a Semtex, so it sticks, and I'm like, oh,
And
and
it's
it
like,
just goes
oh,
boom.
hiya. Yeah. Like it happens.
But the guy, like, absolutely went wild, and he was just yelling, and then he muted his mic, and he was just like, for a good 5 minutes, he was away. And I can understand getting upset about a game, but that was like quite a kind of awkward couple of minutes, because you were kind of sitting there thinking, this is another thing I kind of want to briefly point out. I'm not saying that streamers should 100%, like, I feel as if streamers should, in a way, be able to put themselves out there and be honest with their community, but at the same time, I don't know, like, I don't think they should be, or not that they should be, because I can't obviously dictate everybody's behaviour, but it's more that idea of, if you're putting yourself out there, then it's just to be careful about,
Who's watching?
yeah, not to bring down the mood, because like that's like everybody's entitled to their own emotions and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. If you want to cry on stream, you can cry. If you
Oh,
want to,
absolutely.
you can vent or things. But I have, on the flip side, seen people who almost, like, have you seen this before? And again, I'm not like shouting out anyone in particular, but have you ever seen anybody who kind of treats their streams like a kind of venting space?
Yeah. The thing is that like if that's what works for you and then by all means go for it. Me personally, I couldn't do that because it's like these people come here and if they want to support you through what you're going through, that's amazing. But then I also feel like there's you sort of like this is the biggest thing about it as well, is like because you have to consider those sort of parasocial relationships that you can inadvertently build with the people that are in your chat. And that's one big thing that I'm always really careful about. I try not to talk about my personal life much on my stream just because there's a dedicated space for that. And I have dedicated, safe people that I speak to about what's on my mind and that sort of thing in my real life. And my stream is not a place that I want to bring that to. My stream is a place that I want to go to create a spot where I can just sort of relax, roll my shoulders a little bit, and just be a goofy nerd for the internet to see and hopefully make somebody smile. That's my biggest thing. The biggest compliment that I can get is if somebody like, and I think it's actually happened because I'm pretty sure it was either you or Serendipity told me that I was a good comfort streamer, and that's honestly my highest praise. So the day that anybody says that I am a comfort streamer to them is the day that I know I have made it. I have made it to my version of success, and or my vision of success, and that's what I want. Is I want my space to be a place where people can come and relax. The one thing that's really difficult though is that like I want people to be able to feel safe enough in my space to be vulnerable and not have to constantly be on guard. But I also don't want it to turn into a space where people come to vent their frustrations, because that's not the vibe. We're all here to sort of step out of our lives for a minute and just have fun.
That is quite a danger in terms of streaming, where I very much agree. I'm very similar in the sense of I want to create a space as well where people feel comfortable enough to come in, to hang out, to kind of vent about their day. Because I have had people, say, I'm not having a good day, this happened, that happened, On the one hand, I do want people to feel comfortable in that space and to be able to talk to them. On the other hand, though, and this is spoilers to my real life job here, I'm not a therapist in real life. And
Yeah.
I don't want to like say that in a very discouraging way, to be like, don't talk to me about your problems, but like genuinely, if your problems are greater than, if it can be summed up in a couple of sentences, I'm having a bad day, my boss yelled at me, or I'm having a bad day at college or something, that's perfectly fine. But if you've got like serious issues, and I have heard horror stories where people say, I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that, in the right context, because I've actually got on my Discord server, I've got a channel called Talk About Your Day, and I created that specifically because I wanted people to feel comfortable, whether it was something good, whether it was something bad. I wanted them to feel comfortable enough to kind of vent, and I completely understand that if people do feel down and they decide to say, oh, I'm not feeling great today, and that's fine, because I've had days like that, and I'm very much like, I close myself off a lot.
Oh, me too. Same. Big same.
If I'm really upset about something, I will just shut down. I'll be emotionless. I won't care about anything. I'll barely talk to people. And, everybody deals with their problems obviously differently. And it is amazing the fact that you are providing that space. But again, it's like, it's those kind of, not for us, because obviously we've been, not to call you old, but we've been in the Twitch game for quite a while now. But I mean, compared to, like someone new coming in, and, kind of just as a wrapping up point, but like, what would you say? What would be your kind of advice to little Timmy, the new and upcoming streamer, who I think I probably used little Timmy for ages, because little Timmy is lazy, okay? He has been scared off from streaming. So what would you tell him as he stands outside your window, apparently?
Okay, so the biggest advice that I would give to somebody who's coming into streaming for kind of the first time, or if they've been like a passive viewer and wanting to start their own thing, is don't be afraid to establish boundaries for yourself. Be open, be honest, but be safe. And that's the most important thing. Is I know that, like, for me personally, again talking about those parasocial relationships and that sort of thing, I've had people in my chat like express to me that they're having difficulties and that sort of thing. And I've been in chats myself where I've talked about how, yeah, I'm feeling a certain kind of way. But I think at the end of the day, it's up to the streamer as well as the viewer themselves to understand the relationship that you share, because at the end of the day, I absolutely value my audience and I absolutely love my audience, but I don't know them personally. I can offer kind words and I can be a presence and be like, oh, if you're having a rough day, I'm so sorry, I understand that. Here, let's see if we can make it a bit better today. Let's have some fun. Let's see if we can make it a bit better today. But I can't actually help that person outside of that. And so I think the biggest advice I can give to somebody is, and this is honestly the biggest one. Here's the biggest one. Here's the big one. Don't be afraid to establish boundaries. Kindly, don't be a dick, but also be kind to yourself too. Because it's so easy to get into your own head and tell yourself that you aren't worthy of the growth that you're getting, or you're not growing fast enough. Be kind to yourself, because what people are doing when they start streaming like this is that they're making a choice to put themselves out there to an audience, and that is can be really daunting and scary to some people. I know it was to me. I didn't expect to actually get an audience, but yet here I am wanting to cater to that audience, to be somebody that can give good things to my audience. And so the biggest advice I want to give to somebody who's new is be kind to yourself, be kind to your audience. Essentially, do no harm, take no shit. And that's the biggest advice that I can give to somebody new who's coming into it. And don't forget that everything that you put out there, all the work that you do, it's all good work. It's all good work. You can always grow, but no work is wasted.
Couldn't have said it better myself, to be honest. Sorry, just writing that down. No work. No, I'm okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, add that to the affirmation wall, the sticky notes.
I've got my post-it notes ready.
No,
Don't you worry.
that's exactly. Listen, I joke, but I do. I have affirmations posted all over my house just to sort of help me keep myself on track. But
You know, I'm looking at my desk right now, and for some reason, I've got a post-it note I put up there ages ago. There's actually like a pre-printed quote on it that says, "Hard work never killed anyone," and there's an asterisk beside it that says, "But why take the risk?" And you know what?
son of a bitch, I'm in.
It's like me waving myself down, going, "Oh, you had me at hello." It's like,
That's exactly. Honestly, I'm sitting here looking at my monitor right now, and I kind of forgot that I had these stickers up, but I have them from. I have like the Desert Rain Frog.
oh yeah.
I have Desert Rain Frog stickers up, and one of them is they're both just utterly disgruntled, and I'm like, yes, you are what I need to see to keep myself going. Because one of them is just one of them is just reeing his little head off, and the other one's just puffed up going, I'll fucking re. And I'm like, yes, carry that energy through. Be a problem. And honestly, that's the kind of energy I'm hoping to bring into my streams, like, because well enough from watching some of my Apex streams, I can go just off the rails. I could just be an absolute nutcase sometimes and just do some of the stupidest stuff. But I'm hoping that I can bring that sort of energy forward into whenever I do come back. I'm currently looking at artists and stuff like that. I actually have an artist commission, so I'm working on channel art and stuff like that. And hopefully this year, I'm looking to come back. Once I can get my accounting sorted out and my affiliate stuff sorted out, I will be coming back. Don't you worry.
Well, all I can say is, as a final point, no matter like what time you come back, we're all going to be there, to be honest. We're going to be waiting there with our branded WysteriaMoth hoodies on, waving the banners. It'll be like the end of like a cheesy 80s like coming of age film. We're all like, woo, WysteriaMoth!
Yeah, I'm walking across the football pitch with a trench coat on with my fist up in the air.
Yeah.
80s rock playing in the background. Although it's funny you mentioned merch. I actually do have a few merch ideas. Like, I'm not even joking. I have merch designs already.
To be fair, I cannot wait to see those.
I think I told you about a couple of them, but there's been a few more since.
Ooh,
So
nice.
that's gonna be really fun to do, and I can't wait. I honestly, that's the biggest thing. I'm taking my time because I want to make sure that I'm not rushing. I don't want to like jump headlong into it and then burn myself out. So I'm taking my time. I'm being patient, and so that whenever I do come back, my ducks will be in a row, and it'll be amazing. And I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I seriously cannot wait to show you guys what I've been working on because it's going to be so cool.
You and me both.
That feels so arrogant, me sort of hyping myself up there.
Not
But
at
like, you know
all.
what? No, I deserve some gas. I deserve some gas. Let's go. Hype man, let's go.
That actually brings me on to, very nicely on to. Really, I was going to ask where we can find you on the interwebs, as it were. So, yeah, take it away.
All right. Well, currently my social medias right now are a little bit quiet because again, I'm working on rebrands and stuff like that. So I don't really have a lot of content ready to go, as it were. My TikTok is rather quiet at the moment, but I do intend to post more videos. I have a lot of drafts saved up, actually. I have been making and filming videos, but keeping them in my drafts because I don't want to post them yet. I want to start posting them as I'm becoming more active. So I'm sort of like creating a backlog for myself just in case, I get to a point to a day where I can't or I don't have the energy to film an announcement or that sort of thing. So I'm working on that. I've also got Twitter. My Twitter handle is still Paladin Sky because I can't figure out how to change it. I'm probably gonna have to make a whole new handle, which is perfectly fine. If I have to, great. I'm also on Hover, which you clued me into. I've still yet to post some of my clips because a lot of them are going to be under Paladin Sky because the videos are already pretty much just made from TikTok. I'm just gonna move them over to Hover. So I'll just have to like put a little disclaimer in my bio, like previously known as Paladin Sky 1, don't crucify me. These are my clips, I promise. And yeah, so Hover. I also have an Instagram. I haven't really changed much of my Instagram though, so I'll probably not promote that as much. I'm not as active on Instagram as I used to be. I probably should be more. And I'm also going to be working on making a Discord server as well. I will let you know when all of that is up and done. But as for social medias where you can find me right now, Twitch, of course, if you want to go ahead and follow my channel, I'll be more than appreciative. You can watch some of my old archives. I highlight each and every one of my streams, start to finish. They're all there. And I even have a Titanfall 2 playthrough on there that you can watch as well, which I absolutely love. TikTok and Hover, and those are the three major ones right now. Others will come. So I'm WysteriaMoth1 on Twitch currently, but then my TikTok and Hover are both WysteriaMoth, spelled with a Y, W-Y, not W-I, W-Y. That's the important bit.
Yes, well, in the words of, is it Field of Dreams, where they say, build it and they will come?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I was like, but the funny thing is, I don't actually know it from that one. I know it from the Muppet movie, like the Gonzo
Oh,
Muppet
yeah.
movie. With Pepe talking into the fan, go like, build a jacuzzi and we will come.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Like I'm gonna have to put a fucking hot tub in my stream now. God damn it.
No.
Okay, I'm good.
And on that note,
I'm good. I'm good. I'm here. I'm back. I'm focused.
Oh, but see, on that note, Wisteria, thank you so much for coming on this episode. It has been a blast talking to you.
It's been so nice to be here, honestly. Like, I know that sounds like so cliche, but honestly, we should make this a habit. Like,
Oh yeah, you're more than welcome to come on whenever you want. But I know I say this to everyone because I always say at the end, oh, this person's lovely, and oh, go see their content. But genuinely, you are like a very welcoming streamer. You create like such a comforting, welcoming environment, and you're just awesome. So if you haven't checked out,
stop.
well, it's true. If you haven't checked out WysteriaMoth yet, get ready, put it in your calendars. The rebrand is coming. The moth is coming back.
Yeah.
I don't, hashtag
Yeah, the moth.
hashtag lamps out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Lamps out for Wisteria. Oh no! What have we done?
On that note, I'm going to wrap up the episode. So yeah, moving swiftly on from that, if you want to listen to more episodes of the Chatsunami podcast, you can listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, really any good podcast app. So if you look for the Red Panda under the name Chatsunami, you can, find more episodes. Without any further ado, Wisteria, thank you so much for being on. To all the lovely listeners at home as well, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Much appreciated. And on that note, guys, stay safe, stay awesome, and most importantly, stay hydrated. Bye, guys.
Bye!